As lawyers, you may have put yourself out there, and in return received some good and some dubious online reviews.
Whether it's someone with an axe to grind, creative ideas about what you're offering, or just someone trying to be funny, inaccurate and just plain dumb reviews can be incredibly frustrating.
And some areas of practice are more prone to unhappiness. For example, family law, criminal law, personal injury. They're all areas where sometimes you just can't win with clients. The situations are often already acrimonious and full of emotion. Clients, in some cases, may even be to blame themselves for their own rogue behavior.
Right, we all know it's a little toxic online right now. But you don't have to drive yourself crazy dealing with online reviews.
In today's episode, we'll discuss responding to reviews, how bad reviews can actually help you, and I'll also do my own review for the series Bluff City Law. Spoiler alert. Bluff City Law will need to do some serious online reputation management when I'm through with it.
We appreciate you being with us for Fine Laws Don't Judge Me, the podcast about the real life of lawyering.
Welcome to Fine Laws Don't Judge Me. It's the most fun you can have without getting sanctioned. We're here to talk about the ins and outs of life as a lawyer. I'm Laura, and today I'm joined by Allie.
Hello.
Joe.
Hi, Laura.
And Andy.
What up?
3 of us are lawyers, and Andy is not.
I choose to take that as a compliment.
You know, I kind of thought you might. And we're going to start today with a segment we're calling Do This, Not That, where one of us will give some pieces of advice about the practice of law. Allie, take it away.
Thank you, Laura. Today I actually have a joke for you to start out.
Oh, really?
I do, yeah.
I'm ready for it. Let's go.
What's the difference between a lawyer and God?
I don't know. What is the difference between a lawyer and God?
God doesn't think he's a lawyer.
Hey.
I know this may come as a shock to many, but lawyers are in fact human.
What?
I know, it's crazy, but it's actually true. Lawyers are imperfect. Many of us may be striving towards perfection, but flawed, just like everyone else. For some reason, though, it's just harder for us to listen to it. We really don't enjoy being told we're wrong or that we suck at our jobs. However, like it or not, and we know many of you don't like it, not at all, online reviews are here to stay in our profession. So how do you handle them? The good ones, they're easy to deal with for the most part. I mean, you could still mess it up, but generally speaking, they're easy. If you get a good one, you have an option to respond. You could do so with a kind thank you message. You could have a standard reply, or better yet, come up with a custom response with one that's simple but grateful. Whatever works. Make it a habit, make it easy. But the bad ones, if they are bad, they tend to be really bad. Not many 2 or 3 star reviews in the legal profession. They usually go straight for the lowest rating and then write how they didn't even want to give you that much credit. So what do you do about them? The reviews that call you a moron or an idiot or a total loser or a scam artist, and well, we could list a lot of other insults, frankly sort of hilarious ones that involve colorful, fun words that we are trying really hard not to say on this podcast. So here's what you're going to do and what you are not going to do. First, after you read something negative about yourself or your law firm, take a deep breath and take a step back. Do not respond right away when your blood pressure is rising and the profanities start flying with abandon. Second, let a day or 2 pass. It's hard. I know it. We all know it. But trust me, you won't regret completing the next step with a clear head. Finally, do respond if you can. Politely and carefully, aiming to keep your law license and your law firm open. Do not engage the reviewer. Do not challenge the reviewer. Don't insult them, lambast them, hurl your best zinger, none of it. I know it's tempting. It's so tempting. Lawyers tend to be very good at zingers. But it's only going to hurt you in the end. Instead, take the time. Thank the reviewer for sharing their opinion. Maybe encourage them to reach out and give feedback directly to you or to the firm. Then, and this is the hardest part, take a moment to reflect on what they said. It may be that there is nothing to be done, and the review is total and utter BS. But it may also be that there's some truth to it and something you can improve going forward. After all, we are all flawed humans in a service profession, and when we acknowledge that fact, I think most of us realize that we can benefit from a little self-reflection.
Thanks, Allie. Now we're going to move into sort of a roundtable discussion about dealing with online reviews as an attorney. So what does everyone think? Why do online reviews make attorneys so uncomfortable?
I have an opinion on this, Laura.
Do you?
I do. No, I think, attorneys like to be right.
True.
They don't like to be challenged.
This is very true.
And I think when you put it out online, I mean, it's just I know when I started my practice, I knew it was important, but I was like, oh gosh, just to put yourself out there. You're already dealing with really adversarial situations, and it's just by nature acrimonious. Most litigation is in general. So the idea of putting yourself out there when something has been that heated is really hard, and hard to hear criticism, I think, in general. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Lawyers, they love to fight and they love to litigate. And I think anytime that you get a bad review, your first temptation is to go point by point and say exactly why you were in the right and this client has no idea what they're talking about. And ultimately that ends up turning into this drag-out discussion that is worse than if you had just left it alone to begin with.
Like with responding to them?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think and I think also, too, that we're trained to expect the worst-case scenario. So when we open ourselves up, we're like, oh, it's going to be all, negative and all people who don't like me who are going to seek this out. I think in reality, obviously, that is not what happens in practice.
I looked you up, and you have a sterling online score on a website I won't mention, but...
It was okay, but realistic because it wasn't all good. I mean, which is to be expected, right? I mean, some areas, like like we talked about in one of the segments, family law. I mean, there just will be situations where it's not going to be a positive all the time, and that's okay.
That is, in fact, it actually lends credence to the other reviews, because if you get a bad review and you can respond to it in a professional way, I think it actually makes it more likely that people are going to view you as legitimate. Yeah. If I know,
not paying people to review you.
Exactly.
That's what I was going to say. It's in a lot of instances, it's been shown that people view a business as being more legitimate when they have a couple of bad reviews, because they don't think that you're just padding your reviews with all good ones.
Yeah. I think the bad ones, when the segment was, it's an opportunity, really, to demonstrate more of I can be professional, even in this situation when somebody maybe wasn't 100% happy with what I was doing for them or their case and how it turned out. It's an opportunity to show that you care about giving good service to your clients and representing them to your, the best of your ability.
Yeah, and people know how to wade through the BS one-star reviews too. If I'm Yelping a restaurant and I see 5 one-star reviews and they're all like, well, they didn't have enough parking. That actually doesn't tell me anything about the quality of the restaurant. And
online retailer when they knock the packaging or something, it's not actually the product that you're reviewing.
Well, and it's important to think about optics too when it comes to responding to an online review or deciding what you want to do with it. It's important to remember that people don't like to see lawyers using their power for evil, as it were. We're
the
in
delicate genius.
Yeah, we're sort of in a position of power. So you don't want to rake someone over the coals online because someone's going to see that, and sometimes that can just make the whole thing worse.
Oh, yeah.
I would immediately think that you are a giant baby.
Yes.
Just
right.
Yeah.
The worst of the worst.
Yeah, pointing out all the holes in someone's online review is not going to make you look like more of a professional.
No, but you're right. That is a natural tendency for a lawyer to go there. It is pick out all the weaknesses. You are so wrong, and here's why.
Well, I have a question for you, Allie, since you've practiced a lot.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like in some of those situations where a client is red hot and angry?
I didn't have any of this.
If we see your online reviews, it looks like you didn't have any. But
yeah,
I'm sure they were there.
They were there.
Do you ever feel like you lost a little bit of perspective ever, where someone's saying, you did this wrong, and you forgot about who the stakes were actually higher for in that situation?
Well, sure, instantly. I mean, nobody likes to be insulted. And especially when you take pride in the work that you do, and I own my own business, so I took a lot of pride in the product that we were providing our clients and the service we were providing. So yeah, sure, it's insulting at first, but again, thankfully, reasonable minds prevail, and you take a step back and think about it. And honestly, it was a really nice moment of reflection and be like, oh, I really didn't see that in that situation. So how was I not, perceiving what the client was experiencing and how can I fix that. Online reviews are an opportunity maybe to fix some of the things that may not come to light until like an ethics complaint or something else that might really impact your ability to practice. Communication, attorney-client communication is one of the most, I think, highly cited reasons for attorney discipline. So, if you have that negative online review, maybe it's a chance to fix some of that stuff. But yeah, initially, it hurts a little.
Well, you had a number of really good points there, but one thing that I did want to highlight was the need to show empathy with the client, even if you're initially frustrated or angry or completely disagree. Nobody reading that is going to understand the exact situation. And so the first thing that you need to do is say, I understand where you're coming from, and respond directly to that client and their particular situation. I've seen some instances where lawyers would have almost a form response where they said, sorry, call this number.
Yeah.
It's good to take conversations offline, but you do also want to make sure that you're approaching the client from where they're at that exact moment. And so that empathy is really vital.
Acknowledge their pain.
Exactly.
A little bit, their pain point. Yeah, I think that's important. Yep. Also, I was thinking with the whole lawyers' tendency to want to pick apart somebody's position or whether they feel it's inaccurate or not too is and I think most lawyers are obviously aware of this, but you have to be really careful about how specific you're going to get in that response. Yes. Should you choose this route, which I think nobody should choose, but they might, you can't obviously divulge any client information in that review, and I think in order to take down their argument you'd have to do that or risk doing that. So
I am going to say that I have seen a review where the attorney accused the client of being a pimp.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wow.
And said that
is
his life of crime
that's
gives
a bold strategy.
His life of crime.
Yep, this client's life of crime is a good example of his character.
Wow.
And that was his response. That was definitely a take
So
a deep breath moment.
Yeah,
and
he's being a jerk and he's being judgy.
Right, exactly.
And they said that on, as a direct response on the page where the review was?
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a TV criminal defense lawyer. That's a guy that's trying to be like, I only defend innocent people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was asking because one thing I was thinking about was it's one thing to be careful about what you say directly to the review, but you also have to be careful how you respond if you respond offline. There was a case in Texas a few years ago where a woman who I think was a nursing student, she put a bad review of a law firm she had hired for a personal injury case, and they threatened to sue her for, I think, defamation. And so she went back to the online review site and then started posting more reviews that now they're threatening to sue me. So it made the whole thing worse.
Yeah.
It sort of turned into this David and Goliath kind of thing. And
I know who I'm siding with.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something important to think about too. If you're going to respond offline, even that response can still end up back on the online reviews.
Yeah. Yeah, actually I just remembered a story about practice where I heard, and I don't know all of the specifics with this case, but basically, and this is something we'll talk about on other episodes, attorney wellness and substance abuse, because I think that might have played a role in this. But one attorney had too much and then left fake online reviews for opposing counsel.
Oh, no.
And faced some discipline. Also, that's something
Love it.
you should not do.
What?
As much as that makes for a very interesting happy hour story, it's probably,
Well, hopefully that's helpful for anyone out there who's trying to figure out how to deal with online reviews. If nothing else, at least other people know how you feel. We certainly do.
Yeah.
And on our next episode, we're going to go a little further down that road into defamation cases and what to do when these online reviews get not only bad but untrue. Speaking of bad reviews, Andy, you've been subjecting yourself to a new legal procedural lately, haven't you?
Unfortunately, I have, Laura. So one of the things we're going to plan to highlight here at Don't Judge Me is just how terrible most legal TV and cinema really is. So when a new legal procedural or movie debuts, We'll be on top of it so you don't have to be. So
Thank you.
for this first edition of a segment we're going to call Thumbs Down, just because we just assume that they're all going to be bad, it is my great displeasure to tell you about the NBC legal procedural Bluff City Law.
Everyone likes to talk about how this kind of work is rewarding, but if you lose, it destroys you.
How much did AmeriFarm pay you to study
Objection.
Sustained. Do you have any relevant questions?
Just one, Your Honor. How much is AmeriFarm paying you?
That girl grew up with a hero for a father.
I want you to come back to the firm, Sid. I want you fighting for what's right.
We're total opposites. You're conservative. I wage war.
Our differences could be our strength.
You can't just silence the truth. I want the order.
This report for review.
That was brilliant in there.
This show centers around Memphis civil litigation legend Elijah Strait, played by the inimitable Jimmy Smits, no stranger to Law and Order type roles, and his daughter Sydney. So after a falling out with her Atticus Finch meets Warren Beatty dad, Sydney was a big shot litigation defense assassin. The pilot opens on her eviscerating some poor sap who decided to sue a company for making him sick. You know, the gall of this man. Mm-hmm. But after Sydney's mom dies, she and Elijah quickly patch things up, and she comes back to work with him. Sydney's skeptical. "We're two alphas," she says to her dad.
No, that's line.
But he needs her. He wants her fighting for what's right. There's Robbie, who fans of trash TV, you'll recognize him as Aiden from Revenge. None of you guys watched Revenge?
No, I'm gonna though.
Oh, that was a glorious bad show.
Okay.
Robbie overturns a wrongful conviction over several episodes despite having never tried or appealed a criminal case.
Of course. It's just so brilliant, I'm sure.
There's Anthony, an attorney who they managed to reduce very quickly by the second episode to a black caricature by having him settle a dispute between two black brothers who are at war over the family's barbecue sauce recipe.
no.
Oh my
I was just
God.
like,
Wow.
NBC, boy,
No,
this is
no.
good. This is good.
Wow.
There's Della, the southern matriarch of the firm who tells it like it is and loves to bake.
Spot on
All I
accent.
can picture is Paula Deen.
I was thinking the same thing.
You're-
Yeah, it's just
you're
Paula
not
Deen and
far-
law firm.
You're not far
Like
off.
butter and a gavel, or like,
You're-
I don't know. You don't use a gavel when you're a lawyer, but you know what I mean. Like
You're not far
a
off.
file.
How
Yeah.
great would it be to have Paula Deen be your like admin assistant at a law firm?
Yeah. Well, I'd be a lot. Yeah, that wouldn't be good for my health.
And then there's Emerson, Elijah's illegitimate son from one of his many affairs, who I'm pretty sure about this. NBC tries to make him be on the autism spectrum, but in typical network TV fashion, they just bring him down to just like a terrible stereotype as someone who just like is nervous and doesn't speak very well. Like the Emerson and Anthony character just on their own, I'm just like, NBC, this is another feather in your cap.
That's really disappointing.
But none of this matters because what will make lawyers probably the most angry is that, as always with these shows, is it absolutely mangles its portrayal of the legal profession. The first episode, the duo of Elijah and Sydney's first case together, features Sydney just coming into the firm and destroying all of their work on a class action Monsanto Roundup-esque case. So this is also going to be a very like ripped from the headlines type show.
Yes.
Anthony, or one of the other lawyers, I don't remember, and I don't care who said it, but one of them says, "She's been here 2 hours and she's already upended 2 years worth of work." Sydney convinces their client to withdraw from the class so that they can present him as a sympathetic witness on his own and win his case because his death is imminent and his family needs the money. So the firm then prepares an entire trial in 3 weeks, which then predictably goes off the rails. Sydney and Elijah both end up behind bars for contempt
God.
after Sydney screams, "Are you kidding me?" at the judge, who I would note is probably doing her job quite capably.
Yeah.
But in the end, they recover $46 million in
they
punitive damage for their clients with no expert witness testimony. Instead, the Straits' star witness tells her account of corporate malfeasance anyway over the shouts of the defense, yelling objection, and the judge telling her to stop.
Dr. Deemer, during your time as a research chemist at Amerifarm, did you ever hear about our client, Mr. Soriano?
No,
You never met him. You only know him because of this case?
that's right.
Is there anything you'd like to say to him?
Objection. Relevance?
Say to Edgar and his family?
Your Honor.
Miss Strait, where are you going with this?
I'm sorry. I'd like to say I'm sorry to him and his family.
Objection.
Prejudicial. Dr. Deemer, you will refrain from answering the
I'm
question.
sorry, Mr. Soriano. This did not have to happen.
The witness
They knew
is
the
excused.
dangers. They came to my lab and shut me down.
Stop speaking now.
The jury will disregard all of her answers.
You can't just silence the truth.
Order! There will be order in my court.
This report for review.
So, this was enough for the jury, apparently. And so the Happy family likely then went on to lose all of it in appeal.
Do we get to know any of the jurors?
No.
Oh.
But they do sometimes, they would cut to the jury and you would see people just going like,
Yeah.
shaking their head and that kind of stuff. In the second episode, we see Elijah and Sydney appear before a Tennessee appellate court, which doesn't ask any questions during arguments and then issues an immediate ruling after arguments are over. Like no written opinion. They just...
Nope.
It's an efficient courtroom. I'm
This
not
is-
sure what the issue is.
They're trying to cut down on paperwork.
So-
I don't know.
Dramatic music.
Oh, the music is a lot of like... A lot of bad Southern...
Legal guitar.
Legal Southern guitar.
It's a very,
Genre.
very specific genre.
It's very specific, yeah.
So after they failed to protect a farmer who is in hock to an agribiz giant, they then devise undertaking a RICO case against this agribusiness company because, quote, they operate like a gang and resort to threats and intimidation. In fact, in one scene, we see Elijah Strait. Jimmy Smits is now well into his 60s. We see him beat the holy shit out of a corporate goon
Oh my God.
who was following him. I grew up in South Memphis, Elijah says, as he is pummeling this guy.
I grew up in South Memphis. Don't take more than some corporate lackey and an idling car to scare me.
She's attractive and smart. Your daughter. You must be proud.
Anyone say one more word about my daughter, give her one more look. Dead man.
So it's another good way to lose your license.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't do
It's
that.
frowned upon.
I hated most minutes of it. It's an insult to attorneys, the profession,
Pretty much everybody else, it sounds like.
people of color, a lot of people. And after originally ordering an additional 6 episodes from its first 10-episode order, NBC then canceled those 6 episodes. So this show is likely already in hospice care. And thank God, because that means I'm not going to have to watch any more for this podcast. My final recommendation is do not stream, do not download, do not binge. So.
Is it wrong I want to now more than I did when you started? Because, I mean...
It's not good bad.
Yeah.
It's not. I know good bad.
Right, yeah.
This is bad.
Yeah.
Well, this has been more of a public service announcement than a review.
Yeah. So back to you, Laura.
Thank you so much, Andy, and thank you for sacrificing your sanity and for our entertainment, because I certainly had a good time. And thanks to all of you for listening to Fine Laws Don't Judge Me. Check the show notes for links to relevant Fine Law articles on lp.finelaw.com. And for more multimedia content, check out the Fine Law for Legal Professionals YouTube channel. Please support the show by rating and reviewing us, preferably somewhat nice comments so that we don't have to figure out how to respond. We welcome all comments, questions, and opinions. Contact us at podcasts@thomsonreuters.com.